Shut up and sit down.
I'm totally gonna go vegan this season.
My mind's on fire, so I ride my bike. I'm riding harder than a hurricane. Love is
You shaved your legs? Does shaving your legs really make a difference? Man, shaved legs make such a difference. Look at that guy with the hairy legs.
I saw the old you for a second there. My mother made me.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Lee Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Optional listening required.
And get that runner's high.
I'm totally going vegetarian this season. Eating is cheating, man. I think protein's really gonna help me out in my season. Hey man, do you have a gel?
That runner's high. Babe, I think I found what it means to be alive.
Do you guys have some lube I can borrow?
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von Turing, and I'm here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler.
In studio.
Welcome to my podcast. Wait, this is not my
We're
podcast.
here. We're here for you.
You're
we're
all here for me.
We're here to support you in any way.
Where are your daily gifts and aberrations for me?
I give you.
You
what
did.
is this?
That you gave me
Pomegranate dragon, something or other.
some kind of
half drink Kirkland for your pleasure.
Perfect. Share some of that spit with me.
I think one of my kids was licking that before the
Oh, boy,
podcast.
great.
It is right, Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking pretty good today. Not too shabby.
Good.
Not too shabby.
Eh.
Yeah. Looks versus feels. We're not going into
That's
that.
right.
We're not going into
It doesn't
detail
matter
here.
how you feel.
Does not.
It matters how you look.
What's the threshold for shabby, though?
It's pretty low.
Pretty low.
Pretty low. Pretty low threshold.
All right, and special guest joining us today in the studio, Mr. Ian Gibson, or should I say Sir Ian Gibson?
Sir Ian Gibson.
You should be respectful, Sir Ian Gibson.
Say something funny to us. Come on. We were doing this before the
Let's do it.
podcast. Call us bad names.
You can't bad British names.
Have you ever heard how the Brits on the GCN show pronounce kudos when used?
What's
I
a
know, right?
kudos?
Kudos.
Well,
Similar to a kudos, but it's
I'm generally
way
supportive of the British accent, but because I
Is that an English thumbs up?
maintain one. But not kudos, right? It's kudos.
Yeah.
It's the plural of kudo, right? Or not?
Whatever it is wrong. Whatever you just said was wrong.
Damn Brits.
Wankers.
Do you regularly watch GCN?
Yeah.
Yeah?
They're pretty regular.
Yeah? You like those guys?
I mean, I watched the GCN show and some of the stuff.
I watched
so much.
this morning. I watched that that KOM attempt
Oh,
on
yeah, I
Alpe
saw that.
d'Huez.
Yeah.
that was
interesting,
That was
yeah.
quite interesting.
The actual Optiwez, or was it
The
Zwift?
actual Alpe
Okay.
d'Huez. They brought 5 amateur cyclists, not professional cyclists,
Okay.
to try to take a stab at the KOM on Alpe d'Huez.
Was it just like they weren't anywhere close? I mean,
No, yeah,
it's from the tour, probably. It's probably from like
it's
old.
Sepp Kuss holds it.
Oh,
and it was
really?
it was in the 2022 tour.
38 minutes.
38 minutes,
Kuss.
20
Oh my
cash.
wow.
He was drilling it at the front for his
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
teammates, and he has it, but only has it by a couple seconds because he was hauling everybody with him.
Yeah.
They got 5 guys, but they were all like the best hill climbers in Britain, like
Okay.
national hill climb champions.
Because they have that. Remember,
and-
in England, they have that like TT Hill Championship thing.
Yeah,
We need
yeah.
to bring that over here. I think Oregon used to do that, right?
There used to be
Oprah.
one out there up at, was it Timberline?
There used to be, but yeah, in
need that.
England, there's one every weekend. There's
Yeah.
like a hill climb time trial, almost every weekend, or at least once a month.
Yeah, I'd do fantastic at that right now.
Yeah. But
Those,
still,
uh,
it's pretty cool.
Those guys were not. Yeah, they weren't just your average amateurs.
No,
That guy Andrew Feather has a 20-minute power of something like 430 watts.
It's 410.
Yeah,
His 20-minute power is 410, but he's only 63 kilograms.
Yeah.
So
Translates to
like
84
yeah.
pounds.
It's like 6.4 watts per kilogram.
And he's not on a pro team, huh?
He's 41. No, he's not on a pro
Oh,
team.
he's 41 years old, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
and the other guy has the KOM on the Stelvio Pass. Which
Yeah,
is
there's an Italian guy.
prestigious.
Yeah, and his his 20-minute power was like 440.
Yeah.
But he was a bigger guy. So they lined him. They had the race director for EF Education came and like coached him,
cool.
and set it all up, and they all worked for one guy, and they went for the KOM on Up to West.
Who won?
You'll have to watch it to find out.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll remember to do that. Awesome. Well, Ian's going to join us for the podcast today, and it should be fun. So let's do a podcast, boys.
What you talking about, Willis?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What are you talking about?
Are you talking about?
You don't know what you're talking about.
Carmen's in there.
Well, the little thing over here asked us what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some coaching stuff.
We're talking about coaching.
All things
You talking about coaching?
Why
All
are we
things
talking
coaching.
about coaching?
Oh, I don't know. Ian, I think you might be a coach, right?
I maybe.
Ian?
Yeah, may have
Sir Ian.
started a coaching business.
Yes. Ian is actually he's under his own umbrella, but he's a part of the Dialed Gang here. We've got him like a part of our little growing group of cycling and triathlon coaches, and Ian is heading up the cycling component of it, and he's got some stuff he wants to share with them, and we've got lots of questions, and it should be a neat little conversation. Ian. So why don't you just give us just a brief background on yourself, what you've been doing in the cycling world and kind of what your goals are with your coaching program and who you like working with and who you don't like working with, and Lane
Doesn't
Sepler.
like working with
Lance
nobody.
Sepler.
Yeah. No one at this table.
I'm
Yes.
not
I do not
everybody's.
want to work with.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I get it.
Right.
So
You'd be tough to coach.
Yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I've been cycling for a very long time. I'm 62 now, so going on 50 years of cycling. But
Time out real quick, though. Ian is that guy that we've referenced many times on the podcast
We have
before.
talked about that.
You put a helmet on him, you put sunglasses on him, you put him in a kit, and you put him on a bike, and he just goes like a freaking rocket ship. And I'm not kidding you. You would never in a million years guess that, Ian, you just said you turned 62 not too long ago.
You'd be like, oh, this guy's under 40.
Easily. I mean, he's out there at PR mixing it up.
Yep.
And
too kind.
Huh?
You're too kind.
No, I'm not too kind. These are facts.
Ian is a decade older than me. We had a team ride this weekend. He kicked my ass. I'll just say that.
Yeah. There you go. Ian can still drop the
Kicked
hammer.
my own ass.
He can
Yeah.
mix it up in the crits. He can mix it up in the time trials. He can mix it up in the road races, the circuit races. He does it all, and he does it all extremely well. Not for nothing, Ian. You're an inspiration to a lot of us, myself including.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's because, I'm 48 years old, and he's 14 years older than me, and I've got that many more years of potentially, if I don't kill myself in the process or completely have everything fall off me, I've got a lot of years of still like training, riding, being competitive. And I've known you for 7 years ish now.
Yep.
And you're still getting faster. Dude, what the hell?
I don't know. Am I getting faster? I feel like I'm fitter than I've ever been, for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of fast guys my age now. It's a thing. I was at national championships 2 years ago and lined up with 50 other guys exactly my age group.
Yeah.
And it was totally inspiring.
Yeah.
They're fast as hell. And
What a testament to the sport
Yeah.
that we call
yeah,
our
for sure.
favorite cycling. It's
But
fantastic.
I know that, with you, Jake, you've been going through some issues after the big crash you had a few years ago and health issues with your shoulder and whatnot. And I keep saying, well, it's not over. If you if you can get through this rough patch, then look at me. You 14 years, you've still got time to.
Yeah. I haven't given up. I just, it gets frustrating. It's coming up on 5 years of dealing with something constantly. And certain things have gotten better in certain respects, and some things have gotten worse, and new things have come on the horizon. And it's just always something. But, you just have to keep your head up, and you've got to have a plan and just try and execute as best you possibly can.
And I've been there. I've been in that stage as well, where life's thrown curveballs at me and prolonged periods of, chronic back pain and all kinds of issues. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. You can come through this, and cycling's really saved me. What I mean? It's
a good community to be a part of as well.
Yeah, the community side of things is probably the most important thing to me right now.
Yeah.
All the people I've met and friends I've got through cycling and the good times. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. So back to you as a coach. You've been cycling for decades, for the better part of your adult life, and you've been in the competitive ranks. I mean, how much racing did you have before you and I met? Because I know that you were just kind of getting into it then.
Yeah, not a whole lot. I'd done some mountain bike races and a couple of little time trials, and I was living for a long time in the south of Germany in a community called Garmisch-Partenkirchen, which is great. I was a skier and rock climber and so forth. But there wasn't a whole lot of cycling there. You had to travel quite a way to go to races, so I didn't do too much of it. But after coming over here, I was in my mid-50s, and I'm like, I've been cycling a long time now. I'm either going to cut it out and get onto something else or go up to the next level, ratchet it up. So, I checked a few things out, and there's a vibrant racing scene here, and I just wanted to be a part of it.
You chose wisely.
Didn't you guys know each other before dialed cycling existed? Because there was that other team.
Yeah.
When I first moved here, I didn't know a soul, and I went out and just started riding, and then slowly but surely you start to meet people. And then one day somebody pings me on Strava. It was David Salzberg, actually.
Right.
He's like, hey, I've been watching what you've been doing all over all over Clark County on Strava. He's like, I tried looking your name up, but I don't see any race results or road race history from you. I'm like, it's because I have never done any road racing. And he's like, you're too fast. He's like, would you be interested in coming out and riding with me one time, and we can talk a little bit more about this team? I think that you'd really enjoy it. So went out for a ride with him, and he started talking to me about Monster Media, and
that's right. It was.
The next thing I know, I was out doing a team ride with those guys, and met a bunch of really cool people and had a blast. And that's where he and I finally connected.
Yeah.
So,
Steve Remy's Monster Media.
Yep, that was a blast. Were you with us on that first ride that I did with the team when we rode out to Vista House? Super windy, blustery day.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, that was the first time I rode with Jordan Rickards, and he and I, we didn't know each other. We didn't know anybody else, and I thought he was on the team, and he thought I was on the team, but it was both of our first time going out there. And there's a couple other guys who were in the same situation, and man, did we tear each other's legs off going up to the Vista House. And it was a massive east wind riding into that. Even just riding out on Marine Drive was just like a ton of work, but we had a bunch of people. When we came back down, we jumped on the Marine Drive. Oh my Lord. That whole stretch, Jordan and I averaged like 34 or 35 miles an hour, just the two of us. We dropped the entire team, and we were out there flying and trying to push each other so hard and trying to get the other one to break, but we were just kind of like laughing and like, right, we're just going to do this together. And I think I ultimately ended up getting the KO by like 2 or 3 seconds at the end. I don't know how that happened. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Then a couple people were like, oh my God, you took the KOM on Marine Drive? I'm like, yeah, I guess. And then it was probably 3 or 4 hours later, I get this, you just lost your KOM to Joey Joe Jr. Shabadoo.
He went right out.
Oh, funny.
We took the KOM from him, and he went back out. He rode the East Wind, and he took it back, and it was the first time I ever saw his name on Strava. I'm like, that's a curious name. And, fast forward a year later, he's on our team.
He's on
Yeah,
our team.
like all of those people, that you mentioned end up riding for Dialed. I mean, I know Jordan's in Colorado now, but he's on the team for a while.
He's moving back this summer.
Really?
Yeah.
And Steve, who was the team leader, he's now down in Southern California,
living in the town that I grew up in, which is like a crazy thing.
Kicking ass in the local crit scene.
Yeah. So,
and he's got a good coach, I think. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What's his coach's name? Ian.
That would be Ian Gibson.
Yeah, Steve's a good guy. He's
Sweet.
He's strong.
That dude can throw down some big boy watts.
Yeah.
He's in his early mid 50s, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I looked. He's in his like mid 50s.
Mid 50s.
I looked on Training Peaks. They have this new feature, the Stack Up, I think it's called. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Anyway, it tells you how you compare with other people.
Okay.
Basically, it's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, he's in the 99th percentile when it comes to 5-second power.
Wow. God.
1,700 something watts.
Yeah. That's a few watts. A couple.
A few watts.
Wow.
I think he was an ex speed skater, apparently.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Cool. So
anyway,
so fast forward to now. You race with us on Dialed, but you're now coaching people, which is pretty fantastic. And that really kind of made me happy to hear. And what are your goals with this coaching program? And you're calling it what?
Dialed Performance Coaching.
There you go.
Dialed Performance Coaching. I'm mooching off of your branding. So.
It's here for all of us. Anyway, so tell us about the coaching program, what your goals are, who you like working with, and just where you see it going.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty low key. I don't have huge ambitions to have a massive client base. It's definitely, I'm trying to move away from my full-time job as an aircraft engineer right now and get a little income on the side. But I feel like I've got a lot to bring to the table, especially when it comes to sort of people like me, masters cyclists, masters racers, people that are, maybe like you said, have been cycling for a long time and want to pick it up, improve their game, get the best out of what they do.
Well, we talked about this before the podcast, and everybody knows that there was a huge cycling boom. As soon as COVID set in, huge cycling boom because everybody couldn't go to the gym anymore and everybody wanted to get outside. So a ton of people went out and got bikes. Yes, a lot of those people, they have like very expensive garage ornaments now or have sold that and moved on to something else. But there's a fair amount of those people that stuck. And there's a lot of those people that have fallen in love with the sport. They've gotten a little bit faster and now they're like, hey, what's all this bike racing stuff that you guys talk about or that you're doing? Or what can I do that's more than just going for my little weekend warrior ride? A lot of those people are floating around. We see a lot of those people at our local rides that we put on. And I think that you're like the perfect fit for those people.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right. I mean, I think the other phenomena that's coming out of the COVID period was that so many people have got into indoor cycling, using platforms such as Swift and stationary smart trainers. And that is really interesting. It works really well. There's races and, all kinds of things. But it really fits in well with structured training as well. I found this out through working with a coach myself, is that it's a beautiful thing to have the online training platform, a coach that can build the workouts for you, and then you just load them in to your laptop or whatever you're using and do the workouts. And it's just a
super plug and play.
Really plug and play, easy, very, very effective way to do intervals or whatever you're doing there.
Are you using Training Peaks as your kind of primary tool for plugging in workouts and also extracting that data to analyze afterwards?
Exactly, yeah. Okay. So Training Peaks is
it's a great tool.
Core to it all, absolutely, yeah. So I can prescribe workouts. The client can pick up those workouts, execute, do them or not, and then I can analyze all of the data that comes back from that, offer encouragement, use it to build the rest of their week out or the rest of their month out based on what we see. And they can use it as giving feedback for those rides. The communication is another big thing. They can tell me when they're available to train, how they're feeling, if that workout I just set was a little beyond them or not hard enough, or all of this stuff. I mean, it's a great tool to use for sure.
Cool. I found that I love to ride my bike. I ride probably every day. I ride too much. I'm fully aware of that for my age and for my athletic ability. I probably ride too much, but I find that if I have a set of intervals that I really want to accomplish, man, it is so much better to do it indoors on my trainer than outdoors. And I hate to admit that because
so much more fun.
If I could avoid riding inside entirely, I would. But you know how hard it is to do like a legitimate power set when, outside, when you're dealing with traffic lights or stop signs or hills or, it's hard to find a good section where you can
think about all the thought process that goes into, I don't know if we do this as much as we used to, but it'd be like looking for that 20-minute FTP test, right? Where it's like, it's hard to find a spot.
Where do you find a spot?
Because you can't have stoplights. You can't, you really want in an ideal world, you want a long, gradual climb where you can grind. And there's only certain locations for that. Or right in your house, right in your backyard, right in your garage with a smart trainer.
Yeah.
Smart trainers are good
You
for
can
a lot of
do
things.
Outside, I mean, I like to set or do shorter sort of VO2 max interval sprints, anything 30 seconds up to a couple of minutes. You can find terrain to do that on. But it's like you said, with the 20-minute stuff or the longer intervals, especially if your coach wants you to maintain a certain power for a certain amount of time at a certain cadence, you're trying to juggle all of that while the terrain is changing.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It's really hard.
It's doable, and there's a lot of people that do all of their intervals outside, but
Yes.
yeah, they just on indoor training, the smart trainer thing makes it so much easier.
You can just set it on erg mode.
Exactly,
And you just keep up with it.
Yep.
You just have to
Just
keep on
hang
top
in
of
there,
it.
buddy.
Yeah.
Just turn the pedals. Yeah. So I find that's if I have like importance, if I'm doing like an endurance ride, I'll do it outside if I can. But if I have certain interval sets, then no, I'd rather do them on the trainer. Even if it's nice outside, I'd rather do it on the trainer because it's so you get the work done that's prescribed to you.
Yes,
And that's hard to admit.
and you're an obsessed cyclist when it's sunny outside and you're on the trainer doing.
I sometimes hate myself for that
Doing intervals.
when I'm like, oh, it's so much easier just to go hop on the trainer.
I almost don't even want to post it on
You're like
Strava because I'm
guilty.
embarrassed because it's nice out and I rode indoors. I've got a question for Lance, and this will segue into something for Ian to talk about here. And I think I have a pretty good idea as to what the answer is going to be on this. But what do you use to hold yourself accountable? You don't have anybody looking over your shoulder. You only have a program that you follow on Training Peaks. What makes Lance Hepler, Trainer Road, sorry, what makes Lance Hepler tick when it comes to getting the work done, to do the workouts, to achieve them and pass them and know that you're going to give it your all?
Well, that's very internal for me.
Okay, that's one thing that I think, and I think there's a second component to this as well, but I'll see if you nail this one down.
Part of it is that it's very internal. The second thing is when I'm in a race situation and the race just goes away from me.
Yeah.
I see it rolling up the road and I can't stay with it. I've been in that situations dozens and dozens of times where I thought I was in this race and I'm doing well and it just goes away from me. I think it's the motivation to try to stay in that lead group.
Gotcha. I think there's another thing that kind of holds you accountable a little bit, and that's Strava. Because you get to post it on there, and if you're going to do a workout, you're going to call it a workout, and that in the back of your head, you're probably thinking, oh, everybody's going to dig in. They're going to take a look at my power profile. They're going to make sure that I nailed all my numbers. Nobody ever looks at any of that stuff, or almost nobody. But you
want to see the pictures, though. They do want to see the pictures.
Just knowing that you're putting that out there, for me, not for nothing, you're not the only one. That's for me sometimes too. If I know that I'm going to go out and do a hard workout, I know that I get to post this, and it obviously you have the ability to take it down if you want, but it's just going to live there, and that's just an entry into your the book that you're writing about your cycling career. And I don't want to write crap. I want to put good stuff out there, and I want to if it's just for me to go back and look at in 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years,
sure,
I want to know that I gave it my all.
Strava's a huge part of my life. I hate to admit that, but I'm a complete Stravaholic.
Yeah.
I spend too much time rolling through there or whatever.
This is the river you and I swim in. There's a much more productive way to go about this, and that's to actually have a coach, a human with emotions and intelligence and the ability to rationalize stuff and to look at it objectively. They're working with you, and that's where Ian can step in. And not for nothing, he should be coaching both of us. But Ian, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there are several ways to approach it. I mean, if you're getting serious about your training, the most cost-effective or the cheapest option is to sign up for a training plan. Mm-hmm. And some of these plans are pretty smart. They've got adaptive. They have these adaptive training plans now, where supposedly artificial intelligence is looking at your performance and adjusting things.
Super intelligent. They know all of these things, and they tell you to do this much, and we'll say it's like 12 or 13 hours, and then Lance's like, sweet, I'm signing up for that. I'm doing that. Take my money. And then he goes out and does 24 hours of riding.
Yeah.
And goes and does like more team workouts and more interval sets and chases more KOMs on Strava. So
Yeah, I did say it was smart.
Number one.
I said it was a genius.
I mean, firstly, Trainer Road does not hold you accountable. Like
They do not.
The AI does not care if you finish your intervals or not, right? And the AI does not offer encouragement or
Yes, that's correct.
yeah, because and even if it does, you probably get this generic corporate, well done, Lance, you broke another power boundary. And
Yep.
So
it's not genuine, is it?
It's exactly
it's not
what it is. It's
here's
like,
what it does do. What Trainer Road does is that you have progression levels for each of the different energy sets. Sweet spot, aerobic power. There's like 6 different things, and there's progression levels. And if you do a workout well, you get a bump in your progression level. It might go from a 4 to a 4.2 or something like that. So there is something like that. But it scolds you kind of if you screw up, like if you fail the workout. It doesn't really scold you. It says, "Why did you fail this workout?" When you finish a workout and you haven't,
loser.
If you haven't done it completely, it asks you why. It doesn't say why do you fail. It says, why do you feel you struggled with this workout? And you can say, I slept like crap. I didn't eat right. I just am too fatigued. You get to
Well, to be fair, I would ask the same thing. Probably not as robotically, but
it's not.
There's,
Yeah.
You want to know. Part of the reason that in-person training works so well is that feedback between the client and the coach. So you had a bad day. I can see the numbers are not what you're capable of. I wonder why that is. Is there a reason behind that?
Having a conversation with Sir Ian Gibson is very different than pushing a button that says, I ate like crap.
leave me alone. That's what I press the button. And
So that's why I like the concept
Human
of
interaction.
the human interaction. Is you try harder. You're more committed. As an athlete, I would try harder with a live coach. Dude, he's really going to look at this. I need to nail this workout because I know he's going to look at this. Plus, I'm paying for this. I want to get, I want to get my money's worth for what I'm paying Ian to do for me. And so I'm going to try to do what he tells me to do.
That's a big part of it. For me, I work personally with a coach for about 3 years, and being held accountable was always the thing to me. The
biggest thing.
Yeah.
Big motivator.
A big motivator.
Especially if the coach is good.
Yeah.
If they're just passive and they don't care, and it's just like just sending you workouts and they don't really seem
I'll
like they care if you do
I'll
it or
complete
don't.
a workout, and then I keep refreshing Training Peaks to see when she was going to comment on
If
it.
she makes a comment.
She makes a comment, and a good coach will do that. They'll have something to say about your workout, usually words of encouragement. And you do, like I said, you don't get that from some AI bot.
No.
Where everything, it's a computer code, really. It's based on mathematics, based on numbers. And when you're dealing with actual human athletes, there's so much more than just FTP numbers or, heart
Here's
rate. It's
the glaring missing piece of having an online training program that I find is that there isn't a race debrief.
right.
So I do all these training plans, I do all these workouts, and then I go do a race. Well, there's nobody I can talk to that
You can talk, it's just not going to
It's-
listen.
No, it's not. I can say, what did I do here? Did I go way too hard in the first 2 hours and that's why I blew up? Did I go too easy? Did I, and having a live coach to say, okay, here's this 4-hour race we did that was on gravel. Tell me, okay, you just looked at my numbers. What did I do good and what didn't I do well? Having that debrief is invaluable with a live coach. I don't have that other than these guys who don't know anything.
No, we don't know anything.
And even better if you get an attaboy, you get on the podium, your coach posts your podium picture on their
Yeah, it's true.
social media.
When they're proud of you,
When they're proud of
real.
you.
Yeah,
They
that's real.
genuinely are, because part of what you did is they had input in
good-
that.
and
right?
again-
they can take some credit for it.
testament to a good coach. And when you have a good coach, you respect them and you want to
Yeah.
work for them. So there is a a paradigm there that's hard to match when you're dealing with an AI bot or a system or a purchased program. So, I mean, we're all going to have, different spots in our lives. We're all going to have different things that we respond to. But I mean, everybody could benefit from using a coach, just about everybody to a certain degree.
Right.
And, not everybody has the financial capacity to do so. So that's probably gonna be one limiting factor. And some people just don't want to be told what to do. And that's probably the person that needs it the most. But I mean, I just really think that everybody could benefit from having a coach for at least a short period of time to get them on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my 2 cents.
I think the cost is prohibitive to some people. I think, to be honest, that's one reason I let my coach go after a few years. And after the racing season was done, it was a monthly expense that I just didn't have the budget for. And there is a big difference between, I don't know what you pay for Trainer Road, what, 25, 30
It's $20 a month.
$20 a month, yeah. Well, so
a good coach is going to be significantly more than that, But again, you don't have to have a coach the entire year. I mean, you could probably pick your coach back up, and people often wonder, like, why does a coach need someone to coach them? Well, for all of the reasons that we just talked about. I mean, you need to have somebody that overlooks you, like just Evan, for the first time has a coach, and he's coaching over 20 athletes.
Evan's a coach, and he has a coach,
and
it makes a lot of sense,
and it's working really well too.
That just shows you that the how that accountability works, right? As a coach, you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
It's a question of whether you have the motivation to do it.
And Evan's super motivated. That's one, he's extremely disciplined in that regard. I think for him, it's also good to have some new ideas.
Yeah.
And I mean, for you have 30 years of experience or more cycling. It's like that's an enormous resource for people to lean in on and learn from right within the first year of coaching. That's hugely valuable, especially when you talk about road racing with a bike. Yeah. Because there's tactics that I just don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've
there's a lot of
minimally road raced.
And I think a coach too, it's almost as important, if not more important, of them telling you what not to do as opposed to what to do. And I think that might be the area that Evan falls into a little bit, where he needed some help. Like, Evan, you're putting in too much here, or you're doing too much here, you're trying too much there. I think that based on the conversations that we've had on the podcast with him, when he was talking about him taking on a coach, those were some of the things that he was really working on and dialing back. And he was putting a lot more effort into the areas where he was weakest, and that's his swim.
Yep.
And he was backing off on some of the running and the riding, and he didn't have to go as hard. I mean, he's got that in his back pocket. So why work on something that you're already fantastic at? Let's work on the areas that are going to have the biggest effect or the biggest change.
Yeah. And I see him doing that, and I think it's making a difference. Yeah. So I think his current coaching situation is a good spot for him for now.
I think that's a good thing for him for sure. So
I think it's worth mentioning as well, like you said, especially with a cycling coach, is that there's a lot more than the physiological component, that your fitness. When we went out a couple of weeks ago with the Dial Juniors and did work on road race stuff, I was thinking, I've got a lot I can tell these guys, because you're starting with basically a clean slate.
Yep.
And even a masters racer who's done some racing in a while can pick up things. There's a lot of subtleties in bicycle racing. A lot of things that you assume people know, but actually they don't.
Right.
So there's a lot of that as well. There's a lot of the tactical and strategic riding that we talk about as coach clients.
Racecraft.
Well, we briefly touched on pricing. We said Trainer Road is $100. How much?
It's $20.
Sorry, did I say 120?
It's $100 for 5 months. He was close. Just forgot the 5 months part.
So how much should people expect to pay for a human cycling coach?
I charge $175 per month.
That's pretty good. I have no idea what Evan charges.
That includes a coach paid premium Training Peaks account.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that saves you money there.
Yep.
And then how much of your time are they getting? What kind of interaction should they be expecting from you? And how much programming are they going to get from you?
Well, they'll get daily interaction in terms of feedback. I generally will make a plan a week in advance for that week, and I can change it around if needs be. And then each week or every other week, depending on where we are in race season, then we'll have a face-to-face or a phone conversation. Or, when it comes closer to racing season, if there's an important event coming on, there's going to be more personal interaction. And then for the guys that are living here locally in the Portland, Vancouver area, we'll hopefully get out and ride, once, twice a month.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about this day and age and being a coach. You can really be anywhere and you can coach your clients.
Yeah. Well, my coach, like I said, I got hooked up with my coach, Susan, through our friend Michael, and she lives out on the East Coast. So
okay, good.
Never met her. Just struck up a great relationship with her. Just talking on the phone and interacting through Training Peaks, email, text. It's all doable these days.
That's good. How many coaching clients are you gonna call it quits at, or like
max out?
What's an ideal number for you to be at? 10, 15, 20, 30, somewhere?
No. It takes time. It's supposed to, eventually it's going to replace a full-time job, but I don't want to replace my full-time job with another full-time job. So 10, 12 clients would be great. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's what I'm working towards.
Good.
And that way, with a smaller number that then I've got more time to, get more personal. I can spend more time on each individual client. I think if you have 20, 30 clients, it may be difficult to keep track of every single one of them and offer the kind of service that you say you're going to offer.
Sure. Now, you've already said that you really can connect well with the Masters racer. You've dabbled a little bit with our juniors program. What are your thoughts on working with kids?
I was apprehensive about it. I didn't feel like it was going to...
I remember when I first pitched it to you, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to be received.
I remember when I used to teach skiing back in Germany, I was absolutely terrified if I got given a group of kids. I don't know why, but I just didn't know how to interact with them. And of course, since then, I've had kids myself, and I don't know. But we've been out, 2-3 times now?
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
It's fun, isn't it?
It's fun, yeah. And I'm like, I have got a lot to tell these guys and talk about, and I enjoy their company too.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, they really soak up all of the stories too, and I've had a few interactions with them where you get to tell them some stories, and that they're super curious when they start hitting you up with the follow-up questions and asking more, and just that inquisitive nature, and that part is what is a lot of fun to be able to pass that information along. But you'd be happy to know that you weren't able to make the ride that we did over this past weekend, but stretched them out a little bit.
Good.
Put in about 40 miles with the kids.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how this was going to work out. I thought we were going to break up into multiple groups based on ability levels and shorten up the group that was going to be not struggling, but not going quite as fast or didn't have as much in the tank. They stayed together. All the work that we had been working on with them out there at the Vic area that we do the laps after laps, they did a fantastic job. I mean, they were out there doing all of their pace lining. They rode safe. They were communicating. They were able to hold on, and they did a fantastic job. Super proud of them.
I love to hear that. We're going to mold those guys into a really good little race team. I think.
Yeah. And
they all did a whole lot better than I anticipated they were going to do. It was good to see, for sure.
It was certainly fun the other week when we had them do the sprints and stuff as well. It was great.
Yeah, we had a couple new faces out there too that were doing a great job.
Good.
Yeah, funny story. During that ride yesterday, one of the juniors hit something in the road and front tire flatted. And it was a tubeless tire. It needed to be plugged. So I plugged it with, what were we using?
Dynaplug.
Yeah, we plugged it with Dynaplug and then hit it with the CO2 and boom, she's back up and running. And she was talking to her dad later that day.
Oh, this is funny.
And said, well, she goes, well, I had a flat tire. He goes, and her dad's like, okay, well, we'll take a look at that. And he's like, no, Lance fixed it, and he's been cycling for like 50 years, so it's just fine. You don't have to worry about it. It's all good. I'm like, wait, I haven't been cycling for 50 years.
When did you first start riding a bike, Lance Hepler? How old were you?
Well, I mean, I guess college. I started mountain biking in college.
When did you learn how to ride a bike, Lance?
Oh, probably like at 4.
So she wasn't far off.
So that's only 48 years.
Don't age me. Don't date me. It was 48, not 50. Oh, love it. Cool. All right. Well, I wanted to talk about some stuff. I mean, we're coming up into the start of a race season here. We're going to be hosting our own bike race coming up in about 3 weeks-ish, 3 or 4 weeks. And then there's a race the day before that. That's going to be the official kickoff to the race season here in the greater Portland area. Is it too late for somebody to start training now to get ready for a race? Is it something where, in your opinion, do you think somebody could reasonably put in a bunch of work over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks, or, you know, do enough to be able to be at least competitive to hang in there? And I know this is kind of like a softball question. I already know the answer. I'm just curious to know what your thoughts are. And again, we have a lot of people that do listen to this podcast that do like riding bikes, and maybe they haven't been quote unquote training, but maybe they have been just going out and doing a ride on the weekends or a couple rides. So let's assume that they're not coming from a place of like, I've been sitting on the couch for the last year and haven't done anything, but maybe just casually out doing some bike rides. Could we shape some of these people or inspire some of these people to go out and do some training for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks to actually get ready for the race season coming up?
Well, yeah, and it depends, like you said, where are they at? You know, in an ideal world, you would have a very strong aerobic base by this time of the season. You know, with, like you said, with less than 3 weeks to go until the first races here in the Pacific Northwest. But also, I do believe that. So if that imaginary athlete was, as you said, and they're not completely just coming off the couch, and they've got some kind of base, you can actually make quite rapid improvements to your top end performance. You know, your sort of zone 4 FTP type of area and above. Those gains can be made quite quickly. But also they can be lost quite quickly. So that's why generally you make your training plans get more and more specific to the athlete's target race as you get closer to them, because that fine, high-end, top-end performance is only transitory. It's something you can't sustain for a long time anyway. So yes, you could train up in a couple of weeks, train your VO2 max, you know, you bust yourself trying to get ready for this race, and it can be done because those high-end gains can be made quite quickly. But in an ideal world, you've done some work.
So if I work my
ice cream sandwich
off, I can get in there. I can get her done.
I think you can get it done.
Gotcha. Yeah, there are a lot of neurological adaptations, a lot of physiological adaptations that can be made in that short period of time if they've got that base in there. So if you're listening to this and you're like, that kind of sounds like me, which I think that there are quite a few people out there, start doing some work. Start doing some work now, and you can potentially be ready for some of this early season racing stuff. And if you're local and you're just not quite ready to pin on a number yet, start doing the work anyhow and come out and check out our flogging rides that are going to start up at the end of March. So we're about a month away from those kicking off too. And those are a great race-paced ride. And do a few of those, and the next thing you know, we've got PIR starting up in April, if I'm not mistaken. Is that going to start up in April this year?
Mondays.
And that's another thing that you can do to go out there and work on your fitness. A lot of people will use those as a training day. Yes, it's a race.
There's nothing like a race for an absolute training load.
Yeah.
And so for everybody, not every race has got equal importance, you know. So sure, the beginning of race season is coming up. We're right on it. But you can train through that and use those early season races to enhance your fitness. And maybe the goal that you're really interested in, maybe that gravel event or whatever, isn't until later in the season. Like,
sure.
You know, for me, one of the biggest events I want to get ready for is Baker City. And that's 3-day stage race, and that's mid to the end of June. So we're still a long way out from that.
Sure.
Yeah. And now I'm starting to plan how I'm going to get ready for that myself, and 4 months out. So.
From what I understand, it's really hard to be peak fitness more than 2 or 3 times a season. They generally have to be 6 or 8 weeks apart for peak fitness if you're really trying to peak for something. So I think that's why the point is, if you identify what races you want to do and pick 2 that you want to do the best at, the other races become B races or training races.
Right.
Or
so
fun
within
races.
training peaks, I have my athletes identify their A being
Okay.
the most important, B and C races.
Okay.
So an A race, I'll have them. I'll focus all of their training towards that race, and then on the weeks or the week heading out to that race, I'll make sure they taper down and just get optimal shape for that one race. And the B and C races, especially when it comes to C, is you'll train straight through that.
Yeah.
You may get FTP intervals the day before that race because it's you just told me you want to do it, but it's not like
It's not that
the
important.
ultimate goal for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I have a quick question for you. If you were to, you know all of us here relatively well. I don't know how much you know of like Matt and his training. And Matt's a pretty accomplished athlete in his own right.
More accomplished than
You put all of us against each other. I come out on top.
It's a true story.
Yeah.
Pick us apart.
No doubt.
Pick us apart.
No.
What are each of us doing
Do
right?
that to me.
Oh,
No.
yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need.
I need to hear some.
Lazy, fat, ugly. Pick us apart.
Matt pointed at me all 3 of those times. Yep, that's dead on. No, seriously
No, I
though,
can't.
brutally honest. Just what if you wanted to see more out of me? Like you're always kind of poking me, like get out there, register, do your stuff. What do you think that I need to do more of? I mean, you know enough about me. We've known each other for a while. What are some of my pitfalls? I'm curious if you're going to be honest with me here.
Wow. Putting me on the spot.
Yeah,
That
I
is
am very much so. Brutally honest.
No, I can't. No, you have been an inspiration to me because of the raw power you put out. I mean, whether that's on a sustained hill climb or in a sprint, I never keep up with you. I think, and you know this, right? Drop 20 pounds
Yeah.
if you can. I mean, that's power to weight is everything. You've slowed up a little bit over the last year. I mean, understandably,
Well,
it's been
6 months of dealing with a stupid hip issue, and his shoulder's still like right now. I don't ever talk about it. My shoulder hurts right now, and it's always like floating between that like 2 and 6 pain threshold, depending upon what I did the day before.
But I don't think I've really followed your training per se and analyzed what you do. I don't see much. I don't see intervals, for example. I don't see focusing on one particular thing. I see you have an easy hour on Swift or a balls out flogging ride. I don't see much in between.
Yeah,
Is there any structure to your training from during?
Sort of. It's starting to come back. I really wasn't doing much of anything after. Was it August when I started dealing with those hip issues again from a strain in my quad, and then pretty much was just like riding the bike for a couple hours a week, 3, 4, or 5 hours a week, just to burn some calories, so I didn't gain 40 pounds instead of I'm up about. I think I'm up about 12 pounds right now. So if I could lose 20 pounds, dude, I would do a backflip and probably break something else, but I would do a backflip nevertheless and be super happy about that. If I could drop another 12 pounds, I think that would be good, putting me back to where I need to be. But anyway, in late December, the doctor told me, he's like, you have a tear in your labrum. You've got all these other things going on. I need you to take some time off. And I've said this before on the podcast. I said, I can try and do that. I said, I've got a training camp coming up. I think I know my body pretty well. He's like, well, you're going to have to play with that. And we agreed, do physical therapy, do the acupuncture, do the stretching. And I've been doing all of that stuff. I've been able to slowly ramp it up. If I'd taken the 6 weeks off, I would have been able to start about a week or 2 ago, just getting back into the swing of things, versus the way that I did it was just slowly easing into it and working my way back up to that 10 plus hours. And I've done that. And during that process, I've been trying to add a little bit more structure to the week. So I have done some interval sets in there. I haven't done my normal longer 20-minute intervals that I like to do for the threshold stuff there. And I haven't done my short stuff, but I have been slowly starting to work some of that stuff back into my workout with the hopes that I can keep up with all you guys at training camp, and with the hopes that I can get my FTP to increase so that I can go out there and hopefully get second place at the time trial again for the 27th time.
Well, two things, 2 comments on that is that, one, you're not lacking motivation. That's all of that, that lesser volume you've been putting on has been situations beyond your control. Coming back from an injury is super hard, and you've been basically doing that for the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's a constant work in progress.
And then the other comment is, it is scary how much power you put out, considering all of that, and it makes me think, what is the potential here? If I came across a Jake Von During that wasn't injured, that had been doing a structured program, that had been going to races every weekend, I'd be looking at a Cat 1, national level rider here for sure.
Yeah.
No, straight up.
On Sunday on the kids ride, we did one really hot section. I've been training focused for like the last 2 months, like intervals, like 3 sets of intervals a week. I've been pretty focused. Jake still dropped me.
Yeah.
And I was on his wheel, and he still dropped me in like a 10-minute segment. I couldn't hang on to him for 10 minutes. That's how strong Jake is.
Maybe we should talk. Seriously, because my hip, like I said, I sound like an old man when I'm saying, oh, my hip and my shoulder, my labrums are falling apart. I'm getting old. I still have the desire. I still want to go out there. I still want to mix it up. I am sick to death of being hurt. I'm sick to death of all of the things, but I've made some changes in my, I don't want to come off and make this sound like, oh, Jake had a drinking problem. I like to drink a glass or two of wine a couple nights a week with my wife, and sometimes have a beer here and there, or like, you're out with friends and you have a whiskey drink or something like that. I wasn't drinking a lot though, but I've completely, like, in the spirit of decreasing or getting rid of inflammation, things that cause inflammation, I haven't had anything since last year. So I haven't touched anything. And my wife and I have been talking about it, and my sleeping has gotten so much better, but I've also been trying to eat better and doing other little things to kind of decrease that inflammation response. But I'm seeing positive trends and all of these little things. If they come together, if I do this right, I think I might be able to actually get to a spot where I'm like, all right, I'm a big ball of clay here, literally and figuratively. Shape that. How do we mold that? And I know how to do that, but maybe it would be fun for me to hire you as a coach and say, hey, you're going to do what I'm going to tell you to do. And maybe I just turn the reins over to you and say, all right, let's do this. That could be a lot of fun.
I think that helped Evan too, where it was just like, you don't have to think.
Yeah.
Just do what your coach says.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped him a good bit.
And when I'm healthy, I'm not afraid to go out and do the work. But the problem with me is like, all right, I am getting a little bit older. I'm, not old by any means at all, but I'm getting a little bit older. And there are certain things in your life that start to change, and rest and recovery, you really that's super important. You really need to pay attention to that. And that's probably the thing that's probably what caused me to have the issues that I had last year. Cause we were doing our Tuesday night gravel ride, which is basically dirt flogging, like dirt racing, and we're going super hard. And then riding, a couple, like an hour and a half or something like that on Wednesday, and Thursday we go out and we do the flogging ride, and then we go out and do a team ride on the weekends, and we're either killing ourselves there, or if we're not doing a team ride, we're doing a bike race of sorts. And then you mix in some short track races during the course of the week, and all of a sudden
it's that's hard every day,
hard all of the time. And you start to break down, and that's probably why I ended up getting that quad strain, which ultimately ended up to the hip flexor and the IT band becoming an issue. And all of a sudden the joints getting compressed, and all of a sudden that torn labrum is rearing its ugly head, and it's just like this domino effect that really crushed me. So
I think, and this is a good segue into talking about
structured training,
but the periods between your training, rest periods.
Yeah.
That's a big thing I learned through being a client to a coach, is when to rest. When your body is giving you those signals to maybe you need to take it easy that day. I think perhaps Mr. Hepler here is guilty of that
Clearly.
to a degree, not giving yourself enough rest. And I found my coach, at least, she had a better idea of when my body needed recovery than I did. I would push through things. I had a nagging knee issue a couple of years ago before training camp, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to go to camp. But in my head, I was thinking, but I've got to be in shape to be in camp. I'm going to get dropped on day one. And so I was trying to push through that, and I ended up making it a whole lot worse. So a good coach is going to a good coach should be used to dealing with athletes with injuries, because it happens, right? Especially in cycling. It's not 100% safe.
Yes.
Injuries happen all the time. So a good coach should be able to help you work through that and get you up to speed. Maybe you remember one of the last mass start races you did in earnest before you had your horrific injury.
Yeah.
Was Cherry Pie race down there, and you got into a horrendous smash
At the finish line.
in the bunch sprint at the finish line.
Yeah.
So I kind of sometimes wonder, there's probably a mental component here as well. It's like I'm not ready to
Can I replace one word?
Go on. Yeah.
The word probably. No. There is a mental
Yeah,
component
sure.
there.
Yeah.
I get worried about that for sure. And it's because like I got pretty hurt in there, but in the grand scheme of things, that was nothing compared to what was going to happen to me 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was my call up to the, like, all right, you're racing in the P12 field now with everybody, like in some people that are half your age. And that was like nerve wracking. I'm like, I was perfectly happy being a Cat 3 for the rest of my life. And then I got that email from Obra, like, you just got upgraded mandatory. You're a Cat 2 now. You got to go race with these guys. I'm like, oh man, I don't have the time to do that. Yeah. But in the same breath, I'm like, all right, you got this. You can do it. Just go out there and see how it goes, and don't go out there with any preconceived notion other than just hold on and do your thing. And I did. And I made it through that it was like 72 miles. And I think we were or 70 miles or something like that.
You were 200 meters from the
less
line.
than that. And we opened it up, and the whole road opened up, and those two guys hooked bars. I still don't know who it is. They went into each other. They went down, and I went right into them and went flying over the bars and just flopped and slapped the asphalt so stinking hard, broke spokes. And I thought I broke ribs for sure, and tore up my kit and all that other stuff. And yeah, that sucked. And, going through that whole recovery process.
I remember that because that was one of the only road races I ever actually won. And I was waiting for all my teammates to come back, and say, hey, I won my race. And then there's Jake with his kit all shredded up and blood all over the place.
Dude, and I drove us down there. I remember it was like me and you and Michael, and there was somebody else in the car too. I can't remember the truck, but I remember like by the time I got home, I had so much road rash on me that I was like stuck to the towel that I put on the seat. That was the worst.
Well, it really affects you. Like I went down in the Vancouver crit a couple of years ago, and ended up with a separated shoulder and a whole bunch of road rash. And it took me a while, even now, I think about that every time
I had my bike, I had my kit, I had my number, I had everything. And I was out there like volunteering, running all the pit support for that race. And people are like, hey, you can race today? I'm like, I don't know. This is looking pretty fun. I think I might do it. And I had this whole mental block of like, all right, crits equal crashes equal like your shoulder's not going to be happy and you just isn't good. And I was just thinking about doing it. And I was watching Ian's race, and I saw him come around the last corner, and I saw him go down, and I'm like, nope, not going to race today. That's not going to happen. And spending time with this guy to help like tend to his wounds and looking at his shoulder. Oh gosh, that looked bad at the time. But that was a rough one. But anyway, going back to what you were saying, though, yes, there's definitely a mental component here for me, and I do need to get over that. You do need to, at some point in time, just rip the Band-Aid off. They always say you got one life to live, and there's two ways you can look at that. Like, don't do anything to jeopardize it, but you also don't want to just sit back and be complacent and not do the things that you love. I mean, you got to go out and take some chances to try and have some fun and do your best to.
But it's a legitimate concern. I mean, especially crits, there's a risk there for sure.
Yep. So anyway, at the end of the day, I think that you're dead on. I just need to get back into structured training program. I've been doing the little things. I've lost a few pounds, just a few, but not as many as I need to. Not that I'm overweight by any means at all, but I'm just not in my race shape, and I can definitely get down another 10, 12, maybe 15, 20 pounds, who knows, and see what kind of shape I can get in. And then maybe I need somebody yelling at me, some guy telling me some funny things and British humor. Call me some bloody wanker.
I was bugging you to sign up for the Gorge Gravel Grinder, and now it's full. Can't sign up for that. But
yeah, what's the date on that again?
I don't know, April
April
24th, 23rd.
I thought it was
April
early.
23rd. It's a
Oh, is it
Sunday.
23rd?
April 23rd.
Yeah, that's my daughter's birthday weekend that weekend, and we've got family stuff going on. So I could probably make it work, but it was going to be one of those things where I needed to be closer to that to see how it was all going to come together, to see if I could ask for that hall pass to go out and race bikes. But I've got a lot of family stuff that's on the books for this year, but I am going to definitely try and work some things in.
Lance and I are going to Cascade, right? In
Yes,
Bend,
I think
whole
so.
weekend.
I think so. I haven't signed up for it yet.
I haven't.
But
I ought to do it soon.
Yeah, that window's closing because I know Gorge Gravel Grinder already sold out, and I think Cascade will as well. But last year the weather sucked at it, so I'm kind of.
Oh, did it?
It snowed on it, but
So
whatever.
I appreciate your feedback. I'm going to probably hit you up for some help at some point in time.
Talk about putting a guy on the spot.
I'm going to put you on the spot
On
again.
air.
There's two other guys sitting here with me.
Live on air. Tell me how bad I am.
This is a perfect time to move on. This is a perfect time.
Perfect time to move on.
Yes, we are low on time.
Oh, so you're going to
Dodge a bullet there.
We're dodging bullets. Mine's clear. I ride too much. I don't take enough
I don't
rest.
think any of us would.
But you've been doing more structured work this year, right? You've been doing intervals.
Last
and
2
stuff.
months. Yes.
Structured work, there's no doubt that everyone at this table could benefit from more structured work.
Yeah.
But your body makes those adaptations when the structured work stops and you give it a chance to rebuild.
Yeah.
That's science, that's when the good stuff happens.
Yeah.
So you got to build in those rest periods.
Rest periods.
Yep.
The thing for me is I'm like in losing weight mode. You know, I was 198 when I got back from Europe at the beginning of December, and I'm like 178 today in just a couple months, which is good for me. But that takes a little bit of focus and boy, getting that sweat in for a couple hours every day certainly helps that. So yeah, I don't know if I know I'm not doing it all right, but I'm doing better than I was last year.
You're doing great, man.
Matt doesn't want to hear it. Matt wants to move on.
Move on. More structured for my training.
There
my
you
training's
go.
all over the place.
Okay, a couple quick more things, and then we'll move on. Any more questions for Ian from you two? Anything?
Thank you for all the coaching advice.
Sweet.
It's huge.
Ian, is there anything that we missed that you would like to talk about? Anything that you want to put out there? Anything that you want
You should
to
tell people how they can get a hold of you if they are
there you go.
interested.
Yeah.
Matt's always good with those details.
No, I just want to say that, everybody I know are compulsive, obsessed cyclists like myself. And you got to point out that there is a cost to all of that. There's an opportunity cost of stuff you're not doing. The projects you're not doing around the house. Time you're not spending with your family. I believe that you ought to make that time count. If you want your cycling to take you somewhere, if you want to be competitive, then make each ride count. So many people fall into the trap of just going for another ride, just adding up a few more miles. And after a while, that's something, but is it the best use of your time? So to make improvements or reach your goals, make each ride count. So what is it you're trying to achieve with that ride? Are you trying to achieve, are you trying to rest your body? Are you trying to improve your sprint, your high end, your FTP, whatever that is? So my business is based around that concept that make each ride count for something, and you'll find success will follow.
And that's another good thing in working with the coaches. They're going to put purpose into that ride as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to make it count, but there's going to be a reason for what you're doing. There's purpose behind it. And it's going to be to build on to the next one, or building on this week to the following week, or building this month on to the next one. So it gets you ready for what it is that you want to ultimately accomplish.
Right.
Our bodies are pretty crazy machines that are capable of doing some pretty insane things that you would have never thought. And if you have somebody that can help walk you down that path, you're going to do some pretty cool things.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing.
And
the adaptations that you can make. Even as people in their 60s have heart problems, all kinds of issues, weight issues, joint issues. It doesn't have to be that way. And that's one reason I like to work with master cyclists, is that you can still achieve that perfect, perfect. You can achieve an incredible machine of a body.
Yeah.
If you put the not just putting work in, but being smart about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making each ride count. So, yeah.
It's amazing when you look at cyclists and triathletes for that matter, Matt. When you get to a certain age and you start to compare a cyclist or a triathlete to the average population of people, like just looking at their fitness, looking at their overall health, looking at their youthfulness, and looking at like how much energy they have, and all of the little things that they do, like the whole cycling paradigm. Like when you start to factor in like getting proper rest, eating the right things, drinking plenty of fluids, doing the right kind of training program, making sure that you're taking time off the bike when you need to take time off the bike. Those things create a whole different breed of people. And I think that the world from a rational standpoint needs to take a look at that and say, hey, we should be doing something like that too. It doesn't have to be cycling, but you need to be doing something.
Yeah.
So
makes a big difference. I did some performance testing at a lab a few weeks ago when I was back in the UK, and they looked at my VO2 max and it came in as above average for a 20-year-old. Right? So,
okay, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Right? And my blood pressure has come down from super high blood pressure to like 112 over 64 or something.
There you go.
I mean, it's been proven to put years on your life. I mean, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's good years too, because like when you get into your 60s and your 70s and your 80s, you can live a life that's going to be like just riddled with like issues and medical this and discomfort there. This hurts, that hurts, and I'm taking all these medications. I mean, you can have that kind of life, or you can have I feel great. I've got energy, and I'm going to go do all the fun things, so you can really enjoy retirement.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't completely stop bad things happening to you. But I tell you, when I was at Masters Nationals down in Albuquerque a couple of years ago, and I looked at the guys on the starting line with me, and they were all between 60 and 64, and I'm like, these guys look great. Yeah, they had that glint in their eye. They were lean.
Yeah.
They just looked like they were living life. And
because they were.
We all need to be like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Anything else?
If you're interested, I have a website, dialedperformancecoaching.com.
Yep. Cool.
Facebook page,
Check it out.
Coaching.
Yep, and he'll be added to. We're trying to get that finished up. He'll be added to the main Dialed Cycling webpage. There'll be links there as well, so you can go and check that out. And maybe we'll have to put some links up in the show notes so people can go check out Ian Gibson and say hi. Cool. All right. Yeah. Sorry, I love my little things here. Changing topics here. Let's bring this guy in.
Champ here. I'm all about having
Champ Bailey.
Champ Bailey is here.
What's up, dude?
Okay, so the UAE tour started this week, yesterday and today. It's been kind of exciting. The first stage was Pancake Flat, a stage for the sprinters, but they were massive crosswinds because it's in the desert where there isn't a single tree out there. And there was a split in the field with like how many?
Don't know.
Like 30 miles to go or something like that. There was a split in the field. They were all echelons.
Yep.
They were all echelons because of the crosswinds, and split in the field, and 10 riders got away from the whole rest of the field. And in that 10 was Remco Evenepoel, Caleb Ewan, Mark Cavendish made the split.
Nice.
Tim Merlier made the split. So there was...
Did they put a lot of time into the field?
They put a minute into the field.
And then it came down to a sprint?
It came down to a sprint.
Caleb win? Who won?
No. Caleb...
Was that really...
Yes, Caleb and Tim Merlier crossed at the exact same time.
Oh, boy.
Like it took 15 minutes to figure out who they won. I think that they were in the back just doing rocks, papers, and scissors to who gets to win.
Flipping a coin.
They're flipping a coin because it was that close.
Wow. I saw the photo.
Yeah, but they gave the win to Tim Merlier.
That is fantastic racing.
Yeah, it was great racing. It was very fun. But like all the main GC guys, except for Remco Evenepoel, they all lost 50 seconds. Just on a flat stage. So Adam Yates, who was hoping to do really well at this race, is already 50 seconds down to Remco Evenepoel, and it's kind of his race to...
It's his race to lose, right?
His race to
I guess
lose
early still.
So second stage was the team time trial. We don't see team time trials very often anymore, but they had a team time trial. It was only like 18 Ks long this morning.
I wonder if anyone's looked at the tour schedule to see if they've got a team time trial this year.
I don't remember. I don't think they do.
I don't believe they do either.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer because I like those. Those are fun.
They're kind of exciting.
Wouldn't it be good if we could have a team time trial over here somewhere?
I feel like they used to do that. It's been a long time since
trying, kind of.
Oregon, the OBRA does a time trial state championship event where they have singles and teams. At least they have the last couple years. Or did they missed it last year?
I don't know if they had a team time trial last year. They have had them in the past, but it just seems like they're always pulling it, like just trying to get people to come out to do the team time trial. It doesn't seem like they ever have very many teams.
There's not
As a matter of
very
fact,
many.
you and I were on a team time
You did,
trial
and
together.
you dropped me in like 5 miles. Big surprise.
Puked rocket red all of yourself.
And I puked on myself. So go figure.
Again.
I puked on myself. So yeah, the time trial happened this morning. Really quite exciting. It was only like 18 minutes because it was 18K, and they were averaging basically 35 miles an hour. These teams of 7.
Crazy.
And Quick Step won by 1 second over Education First, over EF.
That was close.
So Remco Evenepoel,
It's fine.
yeah, he's stacked up again. So
Another second there.
it was pretty close. So that's been kind of exciting. That's been kind of a big race.
And isn't the last day of that up that one hill? Isn't it got a
There's
last day climbing stage?
Yeah, there's a big climbing stage tomorrow, and then I think there's 2 more stages. I think it's 5 days. So there's only been 2. So yeah, there'll be some more climbing, and Remco is poised to do well. And Adam Waits could do well as well. He is the protected rider for Ineos for this race, and we'll see what happens there. But it should be exciting.
Yates?
He's
on UAE now.
No. Yes.
Adam or Simon?
It's Adam.
Adam Yates. I think he went over to UAE, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm so confused. I'm not surprised at that at all.
Sorry.
So, I'm not going to look it up right now. But yeah, it's been.
Who cares what team he's on?
Who cares?
It's
Been
Yates.
exciting races.
Yeah.
Yates, one of the Yateses is going for it.
Yate.
So we'll see what
Go
happens.
Yates.
What else is happening? Pogacar did 5 or 6 races last week and won
All of them.
4 of them. I think there's only one he didn't
Winning
win.
machine.
So he's kind of, he did not go to the UAE tour, which is kind of surprising. It's his team.
He was in
but
Spain, right? Wasn't he?
he's in Spain
Yeah.
at a training camp, and he did the stage race in Spain, and I don't know what he's doing now. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of other racing news. We're still early season, so
I saw some footage of the Tour of the Algarve in Portugal. Did you
Yes.
watch that? Did you see Pitcock going off road on his TT bike?
yes. So Pidcock was doing well in that stage race. I think he was leading. He was leading the GC, and he was taking He was on the time trial bike, took a corner too fast, went way up a dirt embankment on his time trial bike, back into the road, and kept pedaling and barely made it out. But he ended up like 7th on GC, and his teammate ended up winning. Martinez, I believe, won that.
That's cool. He can time trial.
Yeah, he can time trial.
Those guys, the cyclocross team, the guys in cyclocross are like going to be the guys to beat in the next couple of weeks in the classics.
Yeah.
And the Grand Tours. I mean, it's going to be a really fun season to watch, I think.
Cool. Anything else, champ?
I don't think so. We've been long-winded, and I know Mr.
Hold on.
I'm out of here.
Matt.
I'm out of here.
We're going to do a new segment real quick called Second to Last Thing. Matt, go.
Second to last thing.
Second to last thing. I posted a video this week about the Apple Watch Ultra.
There you go.
And it was Apple Watch Ultra after 100 days.
Is it crushing?
video. Yeah, it's doing okay.
I watched it this morning.
Anytime you
good.
post an Apple Watch Ultra video, it does pretty well on my channel. So
Good.
Life's good.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Go do your thing.
Catch you guys next week.
All right.
See you, Matt.
Take it easy, Matt.
Bye, guys. Good to see you. Yep.
You too.
All right. Do you want to do a backpedal? You want to do second to last thing? What do you want to do here, Lance?
Let's go backpedal.
Let's backpedal. All right. Let's backpedal. You want to start us off?
I rode my bike every day when I wasn't supposed to.
Damn it, Hepler.
I can't turn it off. I don't know what's wrong with me. No, I did have a pretty good week. We had a team ride out to Multnomah Falls, which is a gorgeous part of the Portland, Vancouver area. And we had, I don't know.
All three of us here at the table over there.
All three of us at the table over there. We had a great time. It was nice. It didn't rain on us. We got some work done. I don't know. It was
a fun ride. Yeah.
It was a good time. So.
I was super happy with the fact that it didn't rain for starters. And the other thing was, like, I've been trying to, all of these rides that have been being posted on the weekends are very self-serving.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to get myself ready, and I might as well just post them up for everybody to come to. But they've been getting a little bit longer and a little bit more difficult each time. And I was just happy to see that my body was holding up to it and I didn't completely fall apart. And I did deal with a little bit of cramping, but that was to be expected because I pushed myself a little bit harder on some of the climbs going out and coming back. Yeah, I started to feel that a little bit, but I'm happy that felt good. But
we got through it.
Yeah, it's just so much fun going out and riding with you guys.
Ride.
Yeah.
I got a flat tire. It was like a quarter of a mile to go.
You did?
Yep.
On Marine Drive?
Yeah. Just before you guys turned off.
Oh,
I was riding the rim, yeah.
I thought that you had to go to the airport.
Yes, I did, yeah.
I just thought that's where you went. You peeled off and went to the airport. And
I managed to ride to the airport by sitting way back on my seat.
Oh, jeez.
The front tire
I
was
had like
flat.
5 PSI in the front tire.
Oh, jeez.
But then I went to I pumped it all the way up to 90 PSI and I checked it again today and it's still rock hard. So
Sealant. Yep.
Sealant worked.
Yep. Did its thing.
Yeah,
Good.
Fantastic.
Crazy.
Great ride.
Anything else there, Hep?
Then I went on the junior ride on Sunday, which was also great, but I'll let you talk about that.
Sure. Ian, would you like to backpedal this past week?
Well, I did that ride too, Multnomah Falls. And then Sunday morning, my legs were completely destroyed, but I decided to get on my time trial bike, which I haven't ridden since Baker City last year in June. So I had to get that all prepared, and I went out to Vancouver Lake and did a couple of laps on the course that's going to be our upcoming Michael Myers Memorial Time Trial event on March 19th. So we're all looking forward to that. By the way, that's looking good. Registration is open for that on the OBRA website.
Excellent.
Permits in hand. It's going to be a good time.
Cool.
So that was good. And then I've been building a shed in my backyard, getting the workout there, going to the gym, and generally enjoying my weekend.
Killing it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love it.
Good.
Cool. My backpedal real quick was trying to replicate the week prior in terms of volume and some of the intensity, and got into everything, did everything up to Wednesday, and then Thursday came around and the wheels kind of fell off. I started getting sick. There's the crud going around my house, and I think my kids were trying to share that with me. So we were doing the team ride. I got about, I don't know, I think it was 4 miles into the ride, and I'm like, nope, this is not going to happen. I was like just completely fatigued and shaking, not feeling well. I'm like, well, maybe I'm just hungry. Went and ate something and tried to get back on the bike and turn the pedals over a few minutes later. And I was going to do the little like time warp thing where you can catch up to everybody on RTT. I'm like, I'll just get right back in there and they'll never know that I was gone. And I turned the pedal over about 4 or 5 times. I'm like, yeah, I need to just go sit on the couch. So
I'm glad you were smart enough to do that. I am not.
So I did that, and then I completely took Friday off, knowing that that longer ride was going to come up on Saturday. Saturday morning rolls around, I get up, and I felt like crap again. I was like, dang it. I'm like, all right, hold on. Before you pull the plug on this, go sit down, get something to eat. I usually get up about 6 o'clock in the morning. The ride didn't start until 9:30. I've got some time. So I went and drank my coffee, or I actually started by drinking a bunch of water, drink coffee, and then drink some more water, and then I'm still feeling crappy. And I think I sent you a text saying I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be able to come out there and do this. I just don't feel well. And you're like, all right, I'll show up. I'll take care of it. And then, I'd pop some Advil and then just slowly started feeling better. And I went up and I went to use the bathroom because I drank like 80 ounces of fluid at that point in time. I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, all right, fatty, get on your bike and go ride.
Time to go out there. Forget this.
So, I said to myself, I'm like, worst case scenario, you get out there and you get 4 or 5 miles into the ride, just turn around and go home. Not a big deal. It's relatively flat for the first 20 miles and you'll be good. Jumped on the bike and I actually sat at the front of the group for the first 10 miles. I went back and double checked it and it was exactly 10 miles until I pulled off. And then,
you actually dropped us for a moment.
It wasn't that long.
It wasn't that long, but like, somebody was sitting in front of me and they're like, what is Jake doing? And I'm like, well, go pull it back. And he's like, I don't want to. So I went to the front and pulled you all the way back, pulled everybody back to you. But
yeah. So
that was my only hero move the whole day.
Kept going, and I felt pretty good on that ride. I'm like, all right, well, I must have shaken whatever it was, and the Advil and the coffee kicked in, and we got all the way out to Multnomah Falls, and took some pictures and had some espresso. I don't know if we want to talk about that or not, but and I always go out there, and that's one of my favorite things about going out to Multnomah Falls is that ride. Espresso is an acquired taste. Not everybody likes it. I tend to like it, especially if you put a little bit of honey in there. And then I'll go buy. They have this homemade fudge out there, and got some peanut butter fudge. And I always share it because I don't need all those extra calories. But that combination of those two things going back is like rocket fuel for me. I'm like, this is fantastic. So it's better than taking a gel. And we had that and rode back, and I'm like, this is great. I mean, I was dealing with a little bit of cramping towards the end, but I'm like, I made it back 70 miles in the books. I'm like, fantastic. This is great. So then we went out and did our juniors ride the next day, and that was a lot of fun. My legs were shattered for the most part just because they were sore from cramping. But that was a fun ride with those kids. That was another 40, I think it was like 45 miles for me. So it ended up being a really good weekend. Yeah. Yesterday, kind of felt sore. I'm like, it's my normal day off. And then today I wake up again, I'm feeling like my body's trying to get sick. It felt like it did last week. So I'm like, oh God, here we go again. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
But you don't know, right? Until you actually get on the bike and start pedaling.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's when you're feeling at your worst that you actually pull off a good ride. You don't know until,
Yeah. I always tell
20
myself.
minutes in.
That's right.
I always tell myself, just get on the bike, do the first 20 minutes, warm up, and get yourself get the juices flowing. If you still feel like crap 20, 30 minutes into the ride, pull the plug, go home. But, and there's so many times where like I would have done that or would have given myself an excuse. Nope, just go out and do it. Just follow your own advice. And that's where a good coach is going to jump in right in and get her done. So anyway,
it's good.
Tired of telling your friend Jake to shut up here?
Oh, shut up, Jake.
Shut up, Jake.
Shut up, Jake.
Lance, will you stop hitting that button?
I can't help it.
All right, let's jump into one last thing. Since Matt already went, Lance, you're up.
One last thing for me. I'm actually leaving for training camp this weekend.
Yep.
So I'm leaving a week early.
Yep.
We do have our training camp coming up in Tucson, Arizona. It is looking to be fantastic. It's going to be a good time.
Yep.
But I'm leaving a week early because I'm going to visit kids, and I've got some other things I talked about last week in Utah before we're headed out. So.
And he's going to go to training camp and do that for a full week, and he's going to come back and go to Hawaii for another week, and he's going to come back from that and probably go, I don't know, where are you going?
Straight to Echo Red to Red.
Straight to Echo, huh?
Like, I get off the plane on Friday night, and I will drive straight out for the mountain bike race in Central Oregon, or near Pendleton, Oregon.
And he's only flying on a plane because his van does not have floats on it.
That's right. It's the only
If he could put some outriggers or some pontoons on it, he would be driving his van to Hawaii.
I do miss it when I go over there. It's no good. That's it.
Ian, one last thing.
I don't know if I have one last thing.
One more.
If anybody is looking for a bucket list destination to go on a dream cycling holiday, I'd highly recommend Tenerife.
Oh,
you were just there not too long ago.
Fabulous experience. I rented a bike there, 3 days of riding. I put in like 1,200 TSS in the 3 days I was there.
Oh my gosh.
Well, basically, hotels at sea level, the top of Mount Tidy is at 7,000, and that's where you ride. And
oh my god!
And you're overtaken by pros on their training camp.
It
was great.
Tell us who passed you when you were going up the hill.
It was David Gardou and Thibaut Pinot from Française. How do you say it? Française de Jour.
I don't know.
Cycling team. Anyway, yeah, those guys. And Anna Demar, I think, was there.
Wow.
They all came past me. And I actually got on their wheel for probably 500 meters or so. But the difference was they were just talking to each other, having a conversation, and I was about to puke.
Just drilling it.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was a good experience, though. I'm going to go back again. I've actually been twice now, but it's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get there? How long of a flight is that for you?
Well, it's difficult from the States. I think you can you could fly from the East Coast to Spain and then across. But I was back in the UK anyway, visiting family.
Gotcha. Do they
And
have
from
an?
there? It's like a 4.5 hour flight.
Is it an? Does it have an international airport, or is it one of those things where you have to fly over to Spain and then puddle jump over?
No, it's an international airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got to check that out one of these days.
Oh, yeah, it'd be great. Really good.
Need to
we
retire.
we should have a dialed training camp there.
Huh. Yeah. Well, let's see if
Anyway.
we can get. Who do you work for? Alaska Airlines. See if we can get them to sponsor us for some plane tickets.
Don't fly to the Canary Islands.
Do they have a sister company that they work with? All right. My one last thing is, kind of two things. One is thanking Ian for coming in. And again, go check out Ian on his website, dialedperformancecoaching.com. And then you can go to dialedcycling.com here very soon and get more information and links over to his stuff. You can also check him out on Strava, and if you want some coaching stuff, come talk to him. He's a great guy, and I think you would really thank yourself. He's not going to steer you wrong. The other thing is that he touched on and is coming up very soon again is the Michael Myers Memorial Time Trial. If you are interested in signing up for that race, first and foremost, we do have a bunch of information on that on our website, again, Dialed Cycling, and you can go into the team section and there's a whole page dedicated to just that. And we're going to have a lot of cool stuff going on out there. Again, we're going to try and outdo what we did last year, which I thought was pretty fantastic. And then there will be links, or you can just go to the Oregon Bicycle Racing Association's website, obra.org, and you can look at the calendar, and that's on March 19th. There will be a link there that you can go get yourself registered. Pre-registration is $35.
I think so, yeah.
35, and then we do have day of registration for $40. There'll be juniors categories, Eddie categories, and the Eddie category, for those that don't know, is where you can go out there and ride on just your standard road bike. There's no aerodynamic helmets and skin suits and aero bars and all that stuff are allowed in that category. And that's always the biggest category out there. There's by far and away the most riders in that. We will be having E8 chip timing coming back again, which was absolutely fantastic last year. So we'll have instant results that'll be posted for everybody to see, including yourself, before you even get back to the staging area. And it'll probably even get texted to you before that as well, to get your times. We are thinking about potentially having split times again if we can find somebody who wants to sponsor that. So if you're listening to this and you want to sponsor that, I think it's about $300 for a split. So where we have the time trial out at Vancouver and Lake, it's kind of an out and back. So it doesn't start and finish at the same spot, but they're close. But there is an outward point that's kind of known as the halfway point, where you do a turnaround. And if we have a sponsor that might want to come on and sponsor that, we can provide some splits so you can see how you compare to everybody else on the way out, as well as what your second half time was. So that would be kind of a cool thing to have. And just go check that out, register, put it on the map. You never know with the weather, but I've never not gone to that race because of the weather, and it's threatened everything from snow to 60-degree sunshine and everything in between. And I've never regretted doing that race once. It's always been a blast. As a matter of fact, I think if I looked at my time hop right this morning, was the first time I did that race 7 years ago, which commemorates what, Lance? What does that commemorate?
The first time we ever met, Jake.
There we go. We were just talking about that this past weekend. It was at the Jack Frost time trial, and I was racing for Monster Media, and I still didn't know very many people. I knew just a couple people on the team and just a small handful of people here locally. And I was just riding on Strava and just kind of making friends as I was going. And I still had never met Lance, but I think he had connected with me on Strava. I'm like, oh, here's another person. Cool. And I'm lined up at the start house, and I think I'm like second or third in line getting ready and like kind of getting in the zone. And I hear out of the corner of my eye, I see this guy and I hear this, "Hey, are you Jake Von During?" I'm like, who the heck knows my name? I looked over, I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm Lance Hapler. I'm like, oh, hey, Lance. He ran over and shook my hand. And he's like, hey, nice to meet you. I've seen you on Strava. I'm like, all right, cool. So, and then shortly after that, we probably started doing some riding, and here we are today. Kind of funny how it all came together.
Obviously, I have a Strava problem. Clearly.
No, but we've talked about it so many times. Wouldn't know hardly anybody here if it weren't such thing as Strava.
That's true.
I probably, if I didn't ride bikes, I'd just have a whole different life in general. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. The people, the cycling community, just all of the fun that I've had. I wouldn't, if you told me like, hey, we can take away getting hit by a car and almost getting killed and your shoulder getting torn out of your body and all these other things, like we would make that all go away, but you lose all the cycling stuff, I wouldn't trade it. I would say just leave me right where I'm at. I'm perfectly content and we're all good. So crazy times. Cool. Anything else, guys?
Well, let me just say that weekend, March 18th and 19th,
Correct.
is going to be a great kickoff weekend for the racing calendar here
Yeah.
in the Pacific Northwest. We got our race on the Sunday, which is going to be killer. And then our friends at Pacific Office Automation are putting on the Paper Town Classic out at Longview in Southwest Washington. That's on Saturday the 18th.
Yeah,
that is sort of a rerunning of the old Dirty Circles race, and that should be a blast as well.
Same concept,
really
just going to be relatively flat and
Yeah.
just doing laps around. It's not going to be the same
Circuit
course.
race, yeah.
Exactly. So it should be a lot of fun. It's a good early season. Just kind of come test out your fitness. If you're worried about getting dropped, it's flat. I mean, yes, there are going to be tacks, there are going to be surges, there's going to be all of those things. But those early season races, especially if you're riding in the lower categories, are generally just like a big giant bunch sprint at the end. And if you want to get mixed up in that, you can. Or if you just want to sit on and conserve, you can do that and stay with the group knowing that there's not going to be some long, crazy climb that's going to separate the entire field. So if you want to try out some bike racing, that might be a really good place to go start.
It'll be a good weekend.
That was the time trial was the very first road race that I had done when I moved here, because I only had mountain bike racing experience, and then the following weekend was doing Dirty Circles, and that was my very first road race, and it was the same concept and had a blast doing that. So
that was my very first road race as well, and Jake and I ended up in a break together.
We did?
We did.
Okay.
I just didn't stay with the break. But Chris Surratt was in there, Andy Levine,
I remember
Greg Steele.
Yeah, I remember Andy and Greg because they're super tall guys. They're big. They're just like these. Andy's standing there. He's got this like aero helmet on with the big visor on it, and he's got this Audi kit on. He just looks like a really tall, skinny, lean roadie. And then Greg's there with him too. And I think that was like early in Greg's racing career as well.
It may have been.
And he was looking big just standing next to him. And he was buddies with Andy. And Andy brought him out to start racing. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to suck. I'm going to get destroyed in this thing. And it ended up being a really fun race.
We were all in a break together.
Yeah.
There's a picture of us all like in the same like pace line. And none of us knew each other. And now we're all friends. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I think I ended up getting second in that race. Who was it? Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on
John Hinkle.
John Hinkle was it? He jumped off the back, and I was in the wrong position, boxed in, and yeah, he ended up surprising everybody, and he got us. And I needed like 20 more meters or something like that to come around. But I don't even know if I would have caught him. But good on him. But I came back out for round 2 and took round 2. All right, that's enough. We will be back next week with another one of these. Thank you for listening, and until then, bye for now.